everybody. Welcome back to the Everyday Night. I'm Joe.
And I'm Jeff.
And Jeff,
Yes, Joe. You started it.
I did. I absolutely did, and I'm gonna finish it too. So the topic suggested by your brilliant and lovely spouse
Yes.
is the chivalry in the I don't give a fuck era.
Yes.
When you reach an age when you don't give a fuck. Now, I think this is the topic for tonight. And in order to, you need to ask me a question. You need to
I
ask
do.
me the first question.
The first question is, what are you drinking and what have you been drinking?
I am on my third old fashioned of the evening because that seemed appropriate to the topic of the evening. Now, this one, the others I had out with my brilliant and lovely wife at a restaurant. This one is my own making, which is, as I often make it, with Aztec chocolate bitters, orange bitters, and in addition to bourbon, a splash, a teaspoon, a soupçon
A
of
splash.
of a Michigan-made raspberry liqueur, and it really rounds
My.
out the whole thing. It's really quite good. So, because it seemed, I have been told before that sometimes, on occasion, a drink or two will loosen my tongue.
Lower inhibitions.
Yes,
That's what it has always been used for since
and
time immemorial.
it seemed appropriate for this evening. So tell me, what are you drinking this evening?
Well, I was intrigued by your use of, in another episode, of an apple brandy.
Oh, yes.
And I have bought some apple brandy and I usually use bourbon and a little maple. But this is an apple brandy, a splash of, it's two shots of apple brandy, one shot or half a shot of Fireball,
Oh,
cinnamon liqueur, about 3.5, 4 ounces of Fever Tree, and a bit of a cherry maple smoked bitters.
wow. Okay.
And it's quite nice.
Yeah. Well, here.
And it seems very seasonal.
Yep. So the
Yes, very nice.
first question is if you don't give a fuck, what is it about which you are not giving fucks?
Ah, yes.
I think
That
I've
is a proper sentence.
yes, thank you.
Proper, you used
Yes.
fuck you effectively in a sentence.
Yes. I'm going
Um,
to have to put a disclaimer in the description of this. Although by
Trigger
now
warning, strong language.
people should know that our this is
That we don't give a fuck.
yeah, exactly. But what is it we don't give a fuck about? I still care about people.
Yeah,
Um, although I'm often reminded about like it's people I like, it's persons I can't stand. I think it was from Peanuts. Or
no, I like
people, yeah, like people,
as a
but
I can like someone as a person, but I can't stand people.
you're right. People are dumb panicky animals, right? From
Right.
Men in Black. Wow, we are starting with the cultural references already early. Um, it is other people's ill-formed opinions of my thoughts, my actions that I don't no longer regard. I think there's a balance that we have to strike between reality checking what we do
Yep.
with other people and not being driven to indecision, action, overthinking what we do based on the reactions of other people.
Well, true. Yeah. True. As we talk about often, being true to yourself is the core, is the base.
Right.
I had someone, a mutual acquaintance of ours, told me once that said, "You know what I really like about," she said, "what I really like about you is that you really don't care what other people think." And that's not entirely true.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to be respected. But I say that most people want to be respected. Some people don't care about being respected.
Some people want to be feared.
Some people want to be feared, and I think they see that as a type of respect.
Right.
But some people are willing to abase themselves I mean, watch Instagram for a minute, watch TikTok. People are willing to abase themselves for affection or clicks or some kind of attention.
I have seen influencers in the wild
Yes.
but doing things and they look ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
They absolutely look ridiculous to me. I don't care. They, let them do,
Yeah,
but
whatever.
they're doing what they want, what they think will get them clicks and attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
Attention
So,
is not the same as respect.
correct. So that's what I'm saying. Some people, everybody wants to be respected. Some people don't care about respect. They can substitute, and this actually leads to something. Not everybody wants to be respectable either. With enough money, with enough influence, with enough power, it gets back to your fear thing. You don't
Yeah.
need respect if you've
Yeah.
got something else to control people with. So,
The only control, trying to control other people, it's like the what was it from Upton Sinclair? Um, what was it? Getting man to believe something when his salary depends on not believing it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can't do that. And so there are people who think they are controlling other people, but
Well, there
those
can,
people will sell them out in a hot minute if given the
yes.
opportunity.
Well, and that is the difference between respect and sycophancy, really. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
riding someone's coattails, in a completely mercenary fashion, and being able to, mixing my metaphors here, jump ship as soon as
It's
that.
yeah, it's sycophancy, not loyalty.
Right,
So
right. Well, loyalty comes from respect, right?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you're loyal to people whom you respect.
Um, the the idea that um, we we care about other people is not based on it. This is some advice I got a long time ago from very wise man who was king in our organization, Society for Creative Anachronism. I was king twice. I followed two different men. The first said, when you're king, people want things from you. Don't give it to them. Don't don't diminish the value of things you give out by giving it to too many people. Just, don't. The
Yeah,
second man I followed said, when you're king, people want things from you. It's your joy and your privilege to give them what they want, what they need. The more you give, the more you will receive. And the first man is largely forgotten, except in anecdotes about what a fool he is. And the second is still admired and respected and a legend because of all he gave. And that's the difference. And so it's not the they both in their own way didn't didn't give a fuck about what other people thought. They did what they held to be true. And so there, as you said, there are consequences for that.
right. Well, and that was something that we spoke about before we started recording. That we're kind of in an age, like you said. This is it's not just older people not giving a fuck.
Right.
It is, as a society. Well, I'll backtrack a little bit. As Americans, I think we have this myth of being defiant and rebellious and suspicious of authority. And this is part of what we think of as ourselves as Americans, right? And I think that's why the rebel flag still flies, you know,
Yeah.
despite all the horrible connotations that it brings up, because
Yeah.
it's just about rebellion. It's not, to these people, to many people, it's not about slavery or the Civil War. It's a rebel. They call it the rebel flag, and they're just waving it because they want to think of themselves as rebellious, even though they go to the same church that their parents did, and they follow the same tenets that everybody in their community does. They're not rebels.
Right.
But I think it has led us to a place where it's not just defiance, it's not just rebellion, it's just the rejection of any kind of authority and a refusal to be accountable.
It's a kind of nihilism. And
Yes,
we talked
yes,
about that before, that that if rebellions traditionally have been rebelling against something to stand for something else, it's not just being against something, it's that old thing. What are you, when the, what was it from? What are you rebelling against? What have you got?
rebel
Was
without a
that
cause.
rebel on a cause? Right. So what have you got?
Right in the
Or,
title.
um, so it's not, it's what are you standing for? And that's the real question. And so it's I don't give a fuck about your unfounded, irrational, bullshit beliefs in things that are not true, are unproven, are disproven. I do give a fuck about things that are true and are valuable and people and life and society and the world flourishing. And I care about art and I care about music and I care about the things that the relationships of people. Not giving a fuck doesn't mean not giving a fuck about anything. It means not giving a fuck about things that are irrelevant.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's a
Or it
kind
should
of
anyway.
minimalism to the things. Minimalism doesn't mean reducing to nothing. It means reducing to the things that are essential. And that's what the essence of I don't give a fuck is about. It means, what is it really about?
Or we hope that, at least
Well, that's
for
for me, and I don't, if you disagree, I don't give a fuck.
you're wrong anyway. I
Yeah.
mean, so yeah, but and that's kind of the point we're trying to make. And I think, um, as you say, my wife's question was about, we live in an age where I don't give a fuck is a, you know, kind of a rally, not even a, can't really can't call it a rallying cry, because it's about an individualism, right?
Right.
But it's a flag that people are waving. I don't give a fuck, and that is, like you say, a kind of nihilism where
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care about society. I only care about myself. How I feel and what I'm doing is all that matters to me. So, and that is a rejection of any kind of societal responsibility or accountability.
Yeah, I did. I explained to somebody who was talking about the people not taking personal responsibility. So, well, you have to understand personal responsibility is not just responsibility for yourself, it's responsibility for yourself and your family and your friends and your community and your society and your country and your planet. That's taking personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Only caring about yourself is not is self-centered in a way
Right.
that's not personal responsibility. That's
Anarchy,
and well, it's
anti-socialism.
I'm keep talking. The word will come to me in a moment.
Okay. So but there, so that we have this age, as I was saying, that we are in a time when this is a flag that people are waving, and it take a certain amount of pride in not caring or not feeling accountable or responsible to anybody but themselves.
Right.
But there's also, I think, my wife's point was that as you age, as one ages, you become less and less concerned with how the people around you view your actions.
Right.
And I think that's certainly true because, I think you're getting to, is that you become more and more, as you get older, you become more and more focused about what means something to you and what does
Yeah.
not. And
Some
so, go
yeah. Go
ahead.
ahead.
Have I
Okay.
have I sparked that? Do I?
A friend of mine said to me at one point that they said some if somebody says something that crosses the line or is you find unacceptable, you immediately call them on it. And I thanked her. I th this was that meant a lot to me
Hmm.
because I had really made a conscious effort and worked very hard to understand what my limits were and what the boundaries of my of what I found acceptable were. And if somebody crosses that, I let them know right away. I don't want to have that, and there's a word for it that of the you think of the right thing later, the
It is
stairway,
it, it
the
is a
stair,
French phrase called l'esprit d'escalier.
the esprit d'escalier, the comment on the stair, the spirit on of the
Spirit,
stairs.
the ghost on the stairs. Yes.
Right. When you remember it later. I want to be able to, and it's not necessarily to have the right comeback, which that can often refer to, but to say no, no, you've crossed the line. No, that's not acceptable. I will not accept that. And this is something I worked after biting my tongue for many years. That's something I worked at. I remember when I started this process, because it was a long process, when I was young, and my aunts and uncles would say completely unacceptable things, racist, homophobic, awful things, and I would call them on it. And my mother said, "You know, you're not going to change their mind." I said, "I understand that. My purpose is not to change their mind. I know I'm not going to change their minds.
Hmm.
But if I don't say anything, I'm complicit, and I will refuse to be complicit. I will speak up. And if they don't like it, I don't give a fuck." Didn't say that to my mother,
No,
but
God, no.
no, no, no. But but I I said to them, no, what you're saying is unacceptable. Oh, when you get older, you'll understand. No, when I get older, I'll understand what more of a dumbass
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'll be able to articulate it better. So I didn't say that either, but I did call them on their stuff. And that is, again, it's not that you don't care about anything. It's that you understand what you do care about. And what you
Right.
care about, you are not willing to sacrifice. The
Yeah.
other things you don't care about. And
Yeah.
that
It's
drawing that
deciding
line,
what's
what's
worth
worth
caring
it?
about.
Yes.
What determining where you're going to put your energy,
Yes. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I find now, and this is interesting on social media, which God help us, has just been a horrible, horrible thing in so many ways. I mean, the good thing is I've connected with people that I hadn't been connected with for many years, and that's really good. And the bad thing is, every fucking idiot has a
As a platform.
soapbox.
Yep.
Yeah. And and there are people who will say things now who I'm, social media friends or connections are not the same as true friends.
Right.
And there are times when I think, well, I can engage with this person. I can talk to them. If I don't say anything, I'm being complicit, or I can just block them. I can just drop them. You know, I don't give a fuck. It's not my responsibility. I'm not going to change their minds because social media, that's a terrible place to try to get into any kind of
Yeah.
rational discussion with references and sources and citations and arguments. No, it's not going to work. So, or I can just say, yeah, you're a fucking dumbass. Goodbye. And I have blocked so many people for saying not just, it's not just uninformed, because people who are uninformed or ignorant are sometimes open to learning and open to change. And yes, sometimes I know more than they do because, yeah, you can say, everybody has the right to their own opinion. Fuck that. Everybody has a right to be misinformed, uninformed, stupid, ignorant.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually know more than a lot of people, and and I'll drink to that because this is my third old fashioned. And so sometimes I'll just block people. Say, yeah, yeah, you are not worth my time. If you think this, and I know able, you're not able to change your
Yeah.
mind. It's the definition of a fanatic. They can't change their mind. They won't change their mind, and they can't change this, or can't change their mind, and they won't change the subject.
Right.
Fanatic. And so many people like that. I'll just block them and say, no, I don't really have anything to talk to you about. You want to know more than you know now, you ignorant fuck? Ask me, and I will educate you. But unless you come and ask me, yeah, you can just fuck off with that dumbass shit of yours.
Okay.
Definitely going to put a language warning in
Strong.
the this episode.
This is PG-13 strong language.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, so I think that issue of as we age, we it's not so much that we don't give a we care less. It's that we decided what is important to care about.
Yeah.
And we might care about those things more than we used to
Yeah.
because we've jettisoned other things that we don't care about anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true.
And I
I think,
and I
yeah.
think that can look like from the outside that can look like a pulling away socially
Hmm.
or politically or whatever, that it's like, oh well, you're just not active, you don't care anymore. Well, I care, I just don't care about that anymore.
Right.
I That's not that it turns out that wasn't as important as I thought it was 20 years
Yeah.
ago.
Well, and in terms of the chivalric virtues, I care about the truth as much or more than I ever did. What's verifiable, what can be proven. Prowess, you know, prowess in what?
Well,
Physical
that's the thing.
prowess, it's
That inevitably has to wane. It
yeah.
it it
Yeah.
does. So
Yeah.
if you get too invested, if that's all you've got, it will eventually go away. You've
Yeah, and
got to substitute. You got to bring something else, to make yourself worthwhile,
yeah.
right?
And I think of this sometimes when I see I because I still teach although this is probably the last class I'm going to be teaching for a while. I've needed to stay aware of social media and influence and all those sorts of things. And I see influencers who are really reliant on their physical image,
Hmm.
their physical presence. I think, you know, I really hope that you bring something more to this than just that, because that fades. That
Yeah. Yeah.
inevitably does. You know, look at, for example, Helen Mirren and Diana Rigg, who were both hotties. I
Yeah.
mean,
Real stunners.
in well, you look at the 1967, 68, maybe 69, the Midsummer Night's Dream movie from Royal Shakespeare Company, Diana Rigg, Helen Mirren, and Judi Dench. And
Oh
they were
my.
all amazing, beautiful, stunning, but could act. And look at what they each did as they aged.
Hmm.
And I'll put Maggie Smith in there with them. She was
Sure.
hot too. And they all aged into these.
Well, Katharine Hepburn. I mean, there's a
Oh,
whole
yeah,
bunch of female
yeah.
actresses who,
And
and
so,
male actors too.
oh
Really
yeah, yeah.
started. I mean, Brad Pitt for
Brad Pitt,
has became a great, I think, a great actor.
yeah. Pierce Brosnan, who's goddamn Pierce Brosnan and I are the same fucking age, and he still looks like James Bond, and I look like fucking Gandalf, and have for 20, 30 years, you know. Ah,
Well, and Sean Connery, for God's sake.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
he got sexier after he turned 50. It's
yeah,
bizarre.
yeah. Um, um, Harrison Ford. You know, these are examples, and we're just talking about actors, but because they are so appearance dependent, their appearance, their visual presentation is so much a part of their toolkit, their
Hmm.
how they appear. But they took that as a starting point and they added to it. And so with prowess, yeah, you better turn that into wisdom and teaching and knowledge and experience and passing it on and other things and sharing what you know. Because if you just expect to be the one who is you're not going to be the strongest, you're not going to be the fastest. I had an advantage. I wasn't the strongest or fastest to start with.
Right. No, nor
So,
was I.
yeah. So, I already had to turn it into something else. So, I think that the your the other virtues, it's true as well. You should be able to your courage to, as I said, have the courage to speak the truth and the strength to do so courteously all at the same time. I've told people this as an encapsulation of aspects of living the virtues
Hmm.
all at the same time, sprezzatura, that is it's hard to do, but that for me encapsulates it in a lot of ways.
Well, you had a great quote years ago about a gentleman who's since passed away, was immensely proud, great fighter. Um, kind of a kind of a jerk in some ways. We both know who we're talking about, but when he was being considered for induction into the higher order in our organization, I remember you saying, people say, well, how can we not? He's such a great fighter. We've got to induct him. How can we, this order is about prowess, and we all know that it's not just about prowess. And you said that a horse can be useful in war, but is not welcome in the councils of men.
Yes, I did say that. And now I know exactly who we're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That I
and
remember
that's it.
I got quite a reaction to that too when I
Well,
said that.
we don't, and that's one of the things we talk. One of the things we are talking about is you staying relevant in our organization when prowess when you are not one of the top 10 fighters. And I can say without too much conceit that there was a point in my history that I was probably one of the top 10 fighters in our kingdom, in our region. I mean, and it's a close thing. You're in and you're out, and it's a
Yeah,
brief moment. But I could say I was in that top percent for a while. Um, but if you don't turn that into some kind of statesmanship,
yeah,
you just fade away.
yeah,
You're of no interest once you can't do your trick.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. And it's a matter of what you care about. And I say, as I said, paring it down to what is essential.
mm.
What is actually important? What are the things worth giving a actual fuck about? Um, and what are the things that just it's irrelevant? It's not important. It's yeah.
And again, as we're aging, there's almost like a bifocal aspect to this in that you you tend to focus on the things that are really important, right? And you gather those things to you and you discard other things. But at the same time, I think, at least for me, and I suspect for you too, you also get a broader view of things around you. Or
Yeah.
as you
Yeah.
experience life, you see more of it, and you get a better sense of how your actions impact others and impact the community, how the community or a society even trends and problems and history repeating itself to some extent.
Yeah.
You, without even trying, without looking for it, you see it more. You
Yeah.
have a broader sense of that than you do when you're in your 20s.
Um, I was thinking about this, and I think this is related that, and I just heard somebody reiterate this. The concept, one of the things I promised myself I would do is tell other people's stories who have passed as a way
Mm.
of remembering them. So I tell stories about my father. I tell stories about my mother's 4 steps of a proper apology. Um, I tell these stories as a way of keeping people's memory alive. Um, and because I heard of this concept of the three deaths.
Oh,
And the first
yeah.
death is when our physical body dies. We stop breathing, we we stop living, we die. The second death is when anyone who actually knew us also dies.
Hmm.
And the third and final death is the last time that our name is remembered or spoken. And so I tell stories about I tell stories about our friend Jafar
Hmm.
because that's a way of remembering him. And hopefully other people will pick up those stories and they'll keep telling them. So his name will be remembered. There was a great animated movie about this. I can't remember the name, but where there was an afterlife and there was a Day of the Dead and where people's the deceased relatives' pictures and they were displayed in their names, and if they were forgotten, then they faded from the afterlife to be forgotten. It was a great,
Hmm.
wonderful little movie. I don't remember the name right at the moment. Um, but um, I think one of the things that drove me or impelled me in the back of my head, it wasn't in the front of my head, but to write books
Hmm.
and to paint was that these things are a way, these are in the same way that some people have children as a
Right.
way of a legacy or their history or the future being remembered. I have done these other things. I've shared stories, I've talked to people, I've taught people, I've written, I've painted, I've made things that might be remembered. But they won't be remembered forever.
No.
How many people, how many people can we name from throughout of all the people who have lived from throughout human history? How many people have had
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind
The
of
tiniest,
influence?
tiniest fraction.
Right. So, what is it we care about? Do we care about that kind of legacy? Well, for me, it wasn't about the legacy, it was about contributing. It was about leaving
Right.
something behind to try to make the world better because I do care about that. I care about leaving the world a little better than it was when I found it. That's a big fucking challenge these days.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
At the last,
I don't think we've said fuck enough in this episode, just to
okay.
be
Well,
clear.
I was at this fucking rally the other day,
Mm,
and I was talking to this fucker,
yeah.
and tell me when I hit the quota.
Yeah, okay. Well, keep going. I'll keep going.
Um, I was at one of the last No Kings rallies, and I was struck by how much older the crowd was. Like in the '60s, when I actually a child, and all the protests were going on. The protests were all by young people.
Yeah.
I mean, it was,
Yeah.
20s, teens and early 20s, and you know, the 30-year-old was the elder statesman amongst
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
protesters and so on.
Yeah.
At these rallies, I feel like I'm kind of holding down the bottom end of the
Yeah.
age
Yeah.
scale, but I think I theorize, and said this to the woman I was with, who is a generation younger than me. Um, I said, I think the reason we're out here is that we remember when we had a functioning government,
Yeah.
right? And this is horrifying to our generation.
Yeah.
And I don't know that anybody who's in their teens or 20s realizes how bad it has become and how good it might be.
Well, when you think about it, the somebody who's in their teens has been living with this kind of dysfunction for most of their lives. For
Yeah, yeah.
so, yeah,
At least long enough for it to be, you know, for them to realize what's going on. I mean,
right.
you, until you're, 10 or 11, you're not, none of it really impacts you. As long as there are still meals on the table and you've still got shoes to wear to school or whatever.
So when I was in the what grade? So second grade, I think, was an election, the presidential election of 1960.
Hmm.
And I asked my mother about the two candidates, John Kennedy and Richard Nixon. And she looked at me and she said, I don't think that Mr. Nixon is a very trustworthy person. My mother was a good judge of character. Um, and I, yeah, if that wasn't absolutely true, um, I think I was maybe a little more aware. politically starting at an earlier age because of my parents' experiences. Because my father, I heard from my father, said my parents both lived through the flu pandemic. The they're both born, well, my father, yeah, before World War One, and my mother just like during World War One, and they both lived through the Great Depression and World War Two, and on and on, and and my father said to me that Franklin Roosevelt saved the country.
Hmm.
And that, I think that influenced my thinking or my way of looking at things. Um, Not to the point where I blindly accepted any, because I don't, you know me, I don't
Yeah.
blindly accept anything.
Right.
Um, but it certainly was a useful point of view from somebody who lived through the Depression. And my father was drafted 6 months before Pearl Harbor and then served for the duration. And my mother, was in stateside and doing the things that rationing and all of that stuff. And her brothers were in the army, so she was working in my grandfather's store and
Hmm.
doing all of those things. And um, that I people the one thing I care about, I do give a fuck about is education.
Yeah.
And because that's the is an essential element of having a functioning democracy
Yeah.
is an educated populace, an educated uh, citizenry to be able to make judgments. Um, and oh, by the way, fuck those people who say it's not a democracy, it's a republic. No, it's an elected
It is a democratic republic.
democratic republic. Yes, a republic is a form of democracy. It's
Yes.
representative democracy. So that's a that's a
Yeah. Go back to civics class
yeah.
and you learn
Well,
that.
that's not that they don't know. It's that they are intentionally distorting the using words to
Oh.
distort meaning. So yeah, and people are believing it because they're fucking stupid.
So, but that's another aspect of the not giving a fuck kind of attitude of, again, it's feeling that they can't be held accountable or they shouldn't be held accountable.
Right.
No,
Right.
that I've got a right to my own opinion. You do, you, but opinions are worthless. They're,
Opinions are not the same as conclusions, as we've talked about before. Conclusions based on facts assembled in a logical order and proven to reach a logical conclusion. An opinion is what's your favorite flavor of ice cream, and I don't give a fuck
right,
about that. Right.
right,
That's an opinion.
right.
Um, the lack of consequences, I care about people not having consequences for what they do. Not giving a fuck doesn't mean you don't have to suffer
Right.
consequences.
Oh, so, oh, you don't give
Um,
a fuck? Here's one of mine.
yeah. So, well, one of the things the courts ruled this. Yeah, we're ignoring that. Courts ruled this. We're ignoring that. The law says this. We're ignoring that. The court says you have to. We're ignoring that. Yeah, I care a fuck of a lot about that. I don't want I don't want the government, people in the government to just ignore
Well, the
the
function,
law that,
and it means it's broken when the branch, the executive branch, to execute the law.
yeah,
That is its job. When the law is handed to the executive branch and the executive branch says, "Oh, we're not going to do that," we are well and truly fucked.
yeah, yeah.
So we've got to unfuck that.
Yes, yes. So not giving a fuck, just to reiterate, not giving a fuck doesn't mean you don't give a fuck about anything, because that's nihilism. It means you have more precisely defined what it is you do give a fuck about. And the other things can go fuck off.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
Hey. Yeah, this is pretty good.
Yeah, mine might be a little stronger. I can't really say there's a contact buzz because you're 40 minutes away, but
Yeah.
but I'm
Oh,
enjoying myself. What else can we not give a fuck about?
um, um, yeah, movie reviewers who don't
Okay.
like who don't like things that I like. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
care.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Um, there are, it's so much easier to write a negative review of something than it is to critique something precisely, accurately, fairly. We've talked about critique before, and the difference between criticism and critique. And their reviewers, oh, they just hate everything. Yeah, that's fucking useless. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
A
don't.
good a
Yeah,
good critic,
yeah,
a good critic has usually a good critic has an encyclopedic knowledge of the thing they are critiquing.
yes.
And they're bringing a knowledge of a craft to the thing. A bad reviewer is a bad reviewer is you almost
It's
and
self-aggrandizement.
well, no, I'm getting to another
Okay,
point.
okay.
It's anecdotally a failed artist
Yeah,
becomes a
yeah,
critic.
yeah,
That's not fair.
yeah.
Um, it may be that, I mean, a historian can be a critic
Mhm.
because of their knowledge of what has come before and what has led to this thing.
Yeah.
Um, movie critics, art critics, it's different. They have to be a good critic needs to be objective about the craft. And if they don't understand the craft, then they can't be a good critic.
Well, and there are some critics who don't understand craft and they bought the whole bullshit. Um,
Oh, they're just in that sphere of
yeah, I just saw a
art and
review.
critique and
I just saw a review or a comment from an art critic who said, if I see another art installation that's just another fucking pile of dirt, I'm gonna tear my fucking eyes out. And it's like, yeah, the first time it was done 50 fucking years ago, okay, that's something. But, since then, it's all fucking derivative.
yeah.
Um, I was many years ago, I was in Manhattan. I'm at a patisserie where actually a scene from the movie You've Got Mail, I think, was filmed.
Hmm.
Um, and they had Linzer tort. And Linzer tort is a shortbread crust with a raspberry filling. I really like it. It's the
Okay.
combination of flavors. It's really good. And I ordered a piece because you just don't see it very much anymore. And at the end, uh, the the woman, the waitress, asked me how it was, and I said, I can tell it wasn't fresh, but the combination of the buttery crust, the balance of that with the sweet and tart filling, it was still excellent. She looked at me, she said, "Are you a food critic?" And I said, "My dear, I critique everything."
I am a critic, but I do not limit myself to merely to food.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And um now
That'd be a waste of my talent.
yes, you have referred to that as what was the word? Snobbishness, which is inaccurate. It's sophistication.
Just what I'd expect a snob to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what? You,
You don't give
I
a
don't
fuck.
give a fuck.
No, I
Oh,
mean, I think we are both for in certain things discerning people. You know,
yes. Yeah.
we 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 judge things. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I like sometimes it's just I like this better than that, and that's just an opinion.
Yeah.
Um, but I both of us I think tend to analyze why we like it over why we don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not everybody does that.
Yeah, that's true. People will simply react to things and like it or don't like, and not be able to articulate their reasons for it. But I think by inclination and training, we both have the process and the vocabulary to articulate our
Often,
reasons for those. Often, not all the time, but often.
sometimes it's like there's something about this I don't like. I'll have to think about it more, but it's not coming. I'm not sure exactly what is putting me off,
Yeah.
but recognizing that there is something about this that's putting me off, and not just, and I want to investigate it.
Hmm.
Why is it that I don't like that? That I like this and I don't like that? Why is it that I don't like
Yeah.
that? Is a bothers me. Not knowing why I like or dislike something
Yeah.
is irritating to me.
Yeah. Well, and it's worth examining. It's worth
Yeah.
understanding. It's worth thinking about,
Yeah,
understanding
it
ourselves.
may lead to some childhood trauma that I don't remember, and some sort of breakdown is
Or
ensuing.
some adult trauma you're yet to experience.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Could happen.
keep
Yeah,
trying, Joe.
okay. Um, okay.
All right,
We
so I
could
think
keep talking, but
we can. Yeah, I'm having a good
um,
time, but I
yeah,
think we've
too.
probably gotten through this subject
Yeah, I think we
sufficiently
have.
for.
Yeah. So, so I think the essence, just to summarize, is it's not about not caring about anything. It's about knowing what you care about and being able to let go of the rest.
Yeah,
Okay?
and maybe, I mean, put a little extra energy into the things that do matter,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean,
Well, it's
make it
easier to focus your energy on those things when you're not wasting your energy on the other things that are irrelevant.
right.
Yeah.
This is a basic tenet of Stoicism too.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
often overlap with.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Okay.
So go out there and give a fuck about something.
Something. Yeah. Something that's important. Um, and make sure it's worth giving a fuck about. Make sure it's grounded in truth and reality. Make sure you understand the scope of what it is that you're
Yeah.
caring about. And that it's not unfounded so that you don't have to regret it later. Because I see that a lot. Um,
Yeah. Don't
so
drink the Kool-Aid
yeah, yeah. Don't
and
follow the fads or the fashions. Do
or at least recognize what you're doing.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can play with a trend, you can play with a fad, you can,
yeah,
why
yeah,
not?
yeah.
But
Don't
don't
don't mistake it for what it
something
is.
worthwhile. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
All right. So in the meantime, while you're out doing that, please like, share, comment, give us some ideas.
yeah,
Thanks to my lovely wife for this idea. I think it was fruitful.
yep.
Um, we would love to hear from you.
And
And
until we see you next time, be thou
a good night.
and true.